Hello, hello, hello. This is just how it's gonna be. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to make sure my sound settings are correct still. And that they appear to be. If they get messed up throughout, I'll have to try and deal with that, but it should be good. Stream title, for those who are curious, is Improving My Roster, and as you can see here, I have a weapon that's locked for 50. It's a cursed weapon. This is one of the 4 total weapons that can drop from the bosses if you fulfill certain conditions. Basically, all the bosses, or all the champions I should call them, besides a third from each of the different temples, will have a chance to drop them, I believe a 20% chance, as long as you fulfill the condition. This one's condition was pretty easy, and I did it on accident. It was literally just to kill all of the Jaguars, and then kill the Hunter boss from the first boss in the Jaguar temple. The second one, or for the Jaguar temple's second boss, there's people saying that you must parry the second and fourth phase of it 3 times, and some saying that, or an unconfirmed saying that you also need to parry the first and third one 3 times total. For the Serpent temple, they're fairly straightforward. The first one you need to burn the witch, which is just the first boss, and the second one you need to weaken him when you kill him. And so, as you can see here, these are the ones that are just locked, and when you fulfill those conditions, you'll have a 20% chance for them to just drop, and you'll then be able to have them permanently unlocked, and you'll get to use them for the rest of the run as well. My blessing setup is probably going to be mostly the same for this run, with Reptilian Hunger, Willis Chal, and Serpent's Bounty. There's a number of decent options. Tomahawk's Breath is just a very solid choice if I'm going to aim for a fire build, so on and so forth. I'm sorry about any background noises you may hear. There's someone in the bathroom in the room over. This is Unquenchable Thirst is quite an interesting one because it gives you basically one of the relics permanently, where you just get double stamina for every kill. I've not really heard much about this one. It could be decent, it could not be. I'll just have to figure it out at some point when I unlock them all. This is obviously one that I'm going for. I just gain 1 dex for flawlessing the room. It ties in pretty well with Reptilian Hunger, and that you just get rewarded for doing well. Clever Kills is a bit of a weird situation because it's boosting traps and you can't really rely on traps. Skillful Adaptation can also work with a Greed Synergy build. It just basically depends if you have the time and effort to commit to using multiple different styles, which would be like using a secondary and then a main, and then possibly a secondary after, and so forth. It can quickly build up your greed timer, which is very powerful for Reptilian Hunger, but it also means that you have to worry about focusing on other different fighting strategies. This is just kind of spreading weekend, Storm's Focus. This is one of the things I've seen a lot of people mention as powerful. If you're good at parrying, this is just extremely effective. It expands what you can do. If you're using a heavy weapon and constantly parrying, you can have almost full uptime with a heavy weapon, as well as get the benefits from the parries themselves. This is another one I've heard some people say is okay. You get basically just a slight move speed. I believe that's what haste is. Yeah, it does say increased move speed, I can read. Whenever you do a perfect dodge, which you can perfect dodge quite frequently. This one's interesting, doubling your gold whenever a champion's defeated. It's good, but it just really depends on how you treat your run, basically. This, I haven't really confirmed whether or not this is good or not. It seems questionably good just because of the fact that having higher quality in weapons is just nice, but it depends on how the chances, and obviously this one is moderately okay, but you have to go to the blood fountains for it. Yeah, for now I'm going to stick with my build and just move forward. Not going to upgrade any of this as of yet. Nothing else too interesting here. Nothing else too interesting here, though a lot of critical synergy. And yeah, this is just a very powerful shield. There's a number of events available that I did not actually mean to launch into that. Back out of it. I was trying to see what it was. Annihilation Bow of Madness. It's the same as this one. I think I'm actually just going to do a hard exploration on either of the temples to try and fulfill the conditions for the different bosses. It's technically feasible for me to... it's much simpler to do the hard ones, for the Jaguar Temple ones, because they're very straightforward. I don't currently have any weaken, I don't currently have any direct burning effects that could give me the chance drops for the Serpent Temple, but lightning also inflicts a flame effect whenever you actually trigger the lightning ability, which is on the end of combos, so that could work. I think I'm just going to stick with the Jaguar hard exploration and fulfill those conditions. Let's stick to this far left path, give me a guaranteed relic and stats early on, and let me kind of move from there. So yeah, the Serpent Temple is pretty straightforward. The first boss, you just have to make sure you kill all the Jaguars that he spawns, and for the second boss, you have to make sure that you parry the enemy a bunch. Ignoring that very bad showing there, not paying attention to the trap, this is going to be pretty straightforward for a majority of the run. I don't actually quite know how to trigger lightning with the shield effects, because the charge attack doesn't bring down lightning. The outright melee does not either. Fortunately, this build does have a heavy weapon, so I can just break down doors rather than trying to bait enemies into doing it for me. And just, I get 60 free gold. And a bit more on top. It's one of those things that you just kind of have to pay attention to. If I didn't have a heavy weapon there, I could have baited the, what are they called? Deathwives into shooting their little balls at me. Those darkness orbs will truly give you, what's it called? They will give you, sorry, not give you, they will destroy objects they come into contact with, as well as put out torches. I will try the chromatic knives. You can do a shotgun style effect, which I didn't realize previously with them, which would be a good idea for just kind of building up damage, because it scales really well with dexterity. Do I need both of these? I would like both of them, but I don't have the actual way to afford them, so I think I'm just going to take the max health and move forward. But yeah, the main thing with the shield, so that's how you do it. You just have to parry. Yeah, so when you parry with the shield, it will activate its lightning effect, which is how you'll deal the knockdown of, you'll have the lightning strike come down with that method, basically. So if I didn't mess up that parry there, I would have gotten a lightning trigger on all the enemies. For the most part, it's not going to be all that worth it to try and focus on that, just because I'm not that great at parrying. I'm more used to perfect dodges and just dodging in general. But yeah, I'm gonna make use of this heavy weapon again to collect all of these side rooms, which are just free gold for me, which should help me out for the rest of the run. Getting so many rooms with just free gold kind of shows off that it would have been a smart idea to have taken the perception back there, but there's no point in really worrying about that now. As you can see, this shield gives both corruption reduction and returns health to me when I get kills with it, so it's just going to be my main source of sustain for this build. May as well additional max health for a bit, and if If I don't swap it out, it's just max health. Getting our first relic options here. This would give me 2% health for every kill, which is a solid option. Is it worthwhile enough for me to commit now to it? 2% health per kill is very, very powerful over the course of the run, and I can just build into that, so I think I am going to use blood for this. It also gives me some constitution, which further improves that 2%. I'm gonna go this route and aim for a different weapon and inevitably a weapon upgrade here. The other route could have been a decent option, but I decided against it. Just because the prospect of having different main weapon choices was tempting enough for me to go for it. It being this route instead of the other. These arena rooms early on are going to be a lot of this, because the only real threats are these enemies, and you can still stun lock them with any kind of shield, so I'm just going to keep doing that basically. I very nearly messed up the stun lock as I was mentioning that, by letting it get a hit off, but as you can see, my healing brings me up to full health with very, very minimal effort. This would honestly be a pretty good shout, because it gives me some form of lightning damage, and will in general just kind of help out. The lightning damage that I can trigger off this will also benefit from any lightning damage I can deal with the shield, and so forth. I'm not going to be planning to swap out the shield unless I get something outright better, so it would replace my normal synergies. I am going to try and reroll though, because just a basic hammer like this won't last me for very long, and I don't think it's worth the cost as well. Nothing else of great here, so I'm going to move forward. And I'll commit one more and then have to give up. I think I am going to go with this. It gives me a form of lightning damage that I can make use of to trigger the massive spread of lightning I can get with my shield. And in general is just an okay weapon. 20% against uninjured triggers once, and 30% from behind is just nice when you have good spacing around the enemies. This is going to be another arena fight, basically. My first curse was one that just gives me passive amounts of corruption, which I can handle. It's usually pretty obnoxious, but with this build, the amount of corruption I reduce, it is pretty feasible to ignore it. You can see here my greed counter is going all the way up to 30. That is thanks to Reptilian Hunger here. And it's just going to, in general, give me a pretty massive damage boost on top of the gold boost that I'm getting. I just need to make sure I keep it up in each combat. Which, by that I mean make sure that I don't lose the meter, because when I'm out of combat, it just won't go down no matter what. Getting more options for weapons here. I just got new weapons, and I don't want to commit any more resources to that. Just solely the fact of it being a bit of a waste of my remaining divine favors, so I'm just going to move forward. Basically forced to take an unknown here. Don't always like taking unknowns, because obviously I don't know what I'm getting. I believe this is actually a gold room from this format, I'm not too sure though. But after this I get a weapon upgrade, which will help me improve the shield further, which is just a nice thing to have. As you can see there, the lightning effect triggered in the background, and that was thanks to just having hit them with my shield once. and then following it up by hitting the other enemies with another form of lightning damage. This is just an okay relic to have on me. With Reptilian Hunger, you have to be very careful about dealing with traps, and I still don't get great use out of Reptilian Hunger in the Serpent Temple because I'm not great at dealing with those traps, but in the Jaguar Temple I'm generally okay at dealing with them. Well, I did nearly get clipped by the previous trap there. I'm just going to make use of my shield to the best of my capabilities to stop the enemies from having any kind of chance of attacking me. Re-roll through these to try and get more benefits. That would honestly probably be my best option here, just further boosting my healing effects. I do think I need to get something better, but committing all of my resources early on will mean that I don't have any favors left over towards the end, and this is just a pretty cheap option for a decent benefit. Also, should leave me enough gold to then get this coming weapon upgrade, which should be nice. As you saw there, I very nearly had my greed timer run out, which would have been very unfortunate. It's making up I believe a 50% damage increase as of now for my build. Yep, 50% damage increase, and that's just extremely powerful towards any regard. And not something you want to easily give up. Did manage to get the final hit there on an enemy in the distance. My finishing hit will both apply lightning to the enemy and then follow up with a trigger of said lightning, which gives a very, very sizable amount of damage. 15% damage in light is just a pure damage boost here, as well as the actual basic damage boost it gets, so I'm going to go with that. Here we're going to be moving on to the actual champion. It's going to be basically just dealing with the Jaguars and then making sure that they're down when I kill the boss in the end. And it should be pretty easy. Should be being the keyword. As you see there, I have pretty solid damage to just drop the Jaguars down, and my actual damage is also pretty solid. From this point onwards, the boss is only going to summon one Jaguar at a time, so I'll have basically free reign to wail on the boss whenever possible. Here, and I get him down. No hits, and he died without the Jaguar, so there's a chance of getting his cursed weapon. It's not that high of a chance, so I don't expect it, but it's just a thing to be aware of. I do not see it on the ground here, so it's a bit unfortunate, but yeah. I take this upgraded hammer. It gives me an opportunity to weaken enemies, as well as just being an okay option. It's entirely unnecessary there, but less corruption is okay, additional gold, or additional damage based on gold carry, and here is another healing upgrade. Out of stuff that I don't really need, it would probably be this. It doesn't give all that big of a benefit, and I much prefer having a higher amount of healing here. I don't really need the health. I'm probably going to aim to get more relics. Stats would be preferable, but I can't leap over to those, and if I go this way I get some stats anyways. I can also go up this path, but I don't think I will, just because I do definitely want to hit more stats here. And yeah. because my shield now has bonus damage and light, I'm going to want to light up the rooms whenever possible. I also just came to the realization that during that fight I lost my greed timer. It's most likely because I stopped damaging an enemy for a long enough time that I lost the benefit, which is unfortunate. Not going to need that. So we did manage to get rid of Dark Fervor, which means I'm now only going to have to worry about the corruption that I get from the final door, but it's still something to be aware of. Managed to combo both the lightning and the fact that the lightning triggers fire effects to finish off those enemies pretty quickly, which I am glad for, and I can pretty quickly get to my relic. 200% greed kill time would be something that is very, very tempting, because it'll almost for sure guarantee that my greed timer won't run out unless I want it to. But if I'm planning to try and parry the coming boss as much as I can, for the chance of a drop, I don't think it's worth it. So I'm gonna roll through it. These aren't all that great. I'll commit one more roll and then save the last. This would be okay. I'd use it to replace this. This is also just some amount of additional damage, but once again, neither of them are very much worth the cost that I would spend for them. So I think I'm just gonna move on. It does show me that I probably should have gone with the greed timer relic, but that would be something I would replace pretty early on, so to me it wasn't worth the amount of gold I would have had to spend. Got a couple of close calls there, and then I didn't notice that he had started his attack pattern, which is unfortunate, but still managed to clean through the room pretty straightforward. I also need to be more so focusing on using my shield here to get my kills, because otherwise I'm kind of just wasting its main effects, which is the healing that I'm going to be relying on. This room's little trap thing you saw there is pretty easy to deal with. You just roll faster than it, and you're managing to get a free chest which contains some golden items. And an item, I should say. And I'm just going to turn it into health here because I don't really need it, but something to consider there. You had a very lucky dodge there. Was a bit too close to that enemy at the end of my move, but I still managed to get out of it scot-free. I'm going to try and hit all the enemies here with my attacks. I did manage to do it pretty well. My overall damage here is kind of concerning, just seeing as I'm not able to quickly kill any of these enemies. But yeah. As you can see, my healing is actually very solid by way of the different parts of my relics, just boosting up the healing. I get 45 health per kill, which is a very, very solid amount. Either of these two matter. This is something that does matter a whole lot because of you see me healing that excess amount. 45 gold for every kill I get while at full health is extremely, extremely powerful. And so I am going to offer gold for it. I could have offered corruption there. I probably should have, just to make sure I get to my first curse, but that shouldn't be much of a problem. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to give up the 3 constitution one instead. It will slightly lower the amount I heal, but it keeps my damage up, and right now I really need damage more than anything. So I'm going to go to the weapon option here, just so I have an option, so I can see something that could help my build out. As you see there, I can't even one combo down the Jaguars. It does manage to burn out by the end of its fire ticks, but altogether isn't the best damage. Or even the amount of damage I would want. So yeah, a lot of this is just going to be baiting around enemies and trying to deal with them that way. I should remember to just primarily be using my shield because of the fact that it's going to generate me gold, reduce curse, and heal me. And so it's going to be my main method of doing pretty much all. I do manage to get a kill there, and you see that though I am feeling slightly less health now because I gave up the Constitution before, it's still a solid amount of extra health that I heal that then becomes gold. I should have done a basic swing there with the shield, but kind of messed up that. But hey, it works out. Getting some gold benefit here while also just managing to improve my HP and corruption. Nothing here really makes me want to swap out anything, so I'm going to move forward. I'm going to try and save this last Divine Favor for the third section, just because that'll give me the best chance at a high tier item. I'll move on. So there'll be a question mark coming up, which is basically just anything. If I could hope for something, it would be a challenge room, just because that's a large amount of gold that I could then make use of for both the one relic that I have for gold giving percentage damage, as well as just being able to use it for items and the different shops, or shrines I should call them. This trap here is pretty simple to avoid. You just have to roll pretty quickly and get this to shoot, and you're done. This area down here is a bit obnoxious, just depending on how the positioning is, because sometimes all of these will be lit, and it just makes it a bit annoying to avoid. A lot of this is just going to be me trying to maintain my greed, because that's going to be a decent bit of my damage multiplier here. I will be getting gold based on the drops from the enemy, which is boosted further by my greed stats, or my greed level at the time. More gold, more healing, and so forth is just what I kind of need now. That 8% healing is going to just give me gold, so I'll take what I can get. That room, that little area is a bit unfortunate, as you saw, because the fireballs will fly past, so if you don't dodge correctly, you will end up getting hit by them. I'm going to take both of these, permanent damage increase and permanent health increase. The health increase both gives me health by way of that, as well as gives me further gold generation for me to have. This will give me my first curse, which is fine. Gives me something to remove the becoming boss. Yeah. Volatile remains is mildly unfortunate. Enemies killed while burning explode after a short while. Any lightning kills that I get will, or any lightning procs that I get will ignite enemies, which is just unfortunate. I can trade corruption here directly for gold, which I'm actually going to do. As you see here, I got 1,000 gold for 10 corruption, so I'm just going to kind of spam this as much as I can and move forward. Just got a very, very large amount of gold for that combo there, which should give, it's going to give me right now an 18% damage increase from this relic right here. But in the future, it'll let me buy one of these items for basically guaranteed, which is what I want. So this is just going to be a bit more of the same here, and me just killing enemies. And I'm going to focus down this Jaguar, because I hate the Jaguars. Yeah. All of these enemies have lightning on them, so it'd be smart to trigger lightning, but currently I'm just trying to limit the risk that I would have of Volatile Remains just killing me outright. Well, I shouldn't say kill. Volatile Remains explosion is basically just a barrel explosion where they died, but that is a pretty big risk to have on a large number of enemies if I kill them all at once with lightning. And so I just want to avoid that as much as possible. One of the interesting things with this game is depending on how you work, like I enjoy using shields a lot, so I can just kind of, I know the timing well enough of when to bash enemies to get the best effect out of the shield. If you want to see volatile remains, here it is, by the way. It's just a small explosion, but it does present a decent bit of risk. I'm gonna upgrade my shield here just to boost its damage even further. There could be a call to be, there could be, some would say it could be a decent idea to just offer Curse there for it, but because I have the excess gold and I'm only losing a moderate amount of my damage bonus, it's fine by me. Yeah. So this boss, I am going to make an attempt at getting the boss weapon. It's a rare drop, 20% chance, and you get it, some say, it's confirmed that you can get it by pairing the moon enemy, which the moon phase is phase 2 and 4, at least 3 times, but some say you also have to parry the sun enemy. So I'm going to be attempting that as best I can. I'm just trying to deal damage as much as possible. Did manage to get a parry off there, though the first one did hit me. Second parry there. Gonna be pretty well set up. I much prefer doing this fight by just dodging, as you see there. But I have the capability to heal up enough that it's fine by me to do this. Get a parry off there. This boss's attack patterns are fairly easy to plan, and so I'm going to try and parry it as much as possible. That attack pattern I didn't expect him to use from up close, and he didn't get close enough for the parry to go off. And that's the third parry. Going back to Sun Phase. I'm not entirely sure if I've gotten enough hits, enough parries in Sun Phase, but that should be enough parries overall now. But yeah, basically because I've now done with the parries, I'm just going to kill this boss as normal, which is what I need to do by dodging. The parrying does provide the fact that I can just weaken enemies outright, which is very nice damage boost. I am going to not engage as much as I would have wanted there, just to make sure I have enough stamina for what I want to do. And the last parry here should give me all the damage I need. It's not quite enough. And so I get an additional hit there. Unfortunate, but I made it through pretty cleanly. So it's a 20% drop chance from what I've heard for these boss weapons. So let's see if I can manage to get it. I'm not quite sure what it looks like, so I'm going to look through the items, but I don't believe I got it. I did not. That is fine by me. It would have been an interesting thing to see, but we can just move on with the run, basically. I am going to... I think I'm going to just... It gives me an additional 2 perception. This would drop my damage a bit. I think I am going to take it over this, though. Basically unnecessary. The darkness damage can work, but it's an anti-synergy with my... both the effect on my shield and the fact that I have lightning damage already. This could be a good idea, but 3 constitution for free is more important to me. So now what my goal is to be is going to just basically heal up enough that I'm able to get back to generating gold and then move forward from there. This route is very, very tempting. This route is also very tempting. The reason why I say this route is really tempting is it gives me 2 weapon upgrades. This route gives me none. Weapon upgrades are going to be probably my main chance of doing pretty well on the boss because my shield is what I'm using foremost. But it also removes the opportunity to get any relics. It's a tough call because weapon upgrades are so powerful, and I think I am going to go for weapon upgrades because while my relics aren't that great, they do synergize pretty well with each other, giving me, I believe, 200% healing effects right now. Yep, 333 is an 100, and then obviously excess healing, and my bonus damage per gold. If I could have gotten a higher tier one of these, that would have been nice, but unfortunately I did not. So for now, it's just going to be a lot of me killing things with shields to regen my health. As you can see, I get 58 health per kill, so it's not going to be too bad to get it back. And after that point, I'll start generating a very solid amount of gold every time I get any kill. I'm actually going to engage both groups at once. You see there, I pushed the enemies up there, and now the second group is running towards me. Just because of the fact that with the shield you can multi-hit very effectively. That was a very close situation there. I had run out of stamina, so I was trying to think of how to get stamina, and the way that I decided on was killing an enemy as quick as possible. And it worked out fine. In just this starting room alone, you see I've made back a massive amount of the HP that I've lost, and that's kind of the powerhouse synergy of this run is a mix of just generating gold for this on top of this massive healing bust. I'm only healing technically 1% health, but because of my alternative effects, it's giving me all the more. I'm not going to give up any relics for bonus fire damage here. Two sets of enemies. I think I'm going to take the left first, seeing as they're two pretty weak enemies that I can clear fairly quick. One of the main things that I just really need to get better, I feel I do need to get better at personally, is parrying. As you saw in that Sun fight, or the previous champion fight there, my parries weren't very great. I got a decent number of them, but I still took a lot of hits. If you're in this game, if you're able to parry very effectively, you're going to get a lot of extra damage. You're not going to have to spend stamina on avoiding attacks, and it opens up a whole world of possibilities that aren't available if you don't learn how to parry. I don't know why I decided to just swing my hammer there. Wasted a bit of healing, but c'est la vie. Unfortunately, this is all one group of enemies, so I'm going to have to deal with them all at once. I'm going to try and make sure that the masked one here doesn't get off any of its attacks as much as possible by just making sure I hit it. I got fairly lucky there by way of the Jaguar just not hitting me, even though I messed up my stun there, or my interrupt, I should say. Because they're now so far apart, I no longer see a viable way to keep stun locking them, so I'm going to separate and then try and get them close together. I messed up there and thought I would have been able to hit both of them, but the Jaguar's mid-flight will still hit you, unfortunately for me. Very, very unfortunate that I managed to get a second hit there, which... Cool. You know, calm down there. That hit there was from the Jaguar not dying to what I thought would kill it there. So all that health that I had regained, I've now lost again. I need to build back up, but it's not too big of a problem because of the pretty massive health pool that I'm working with. Just gonna collect the little remains of gold here before I move forward. Stats are offered here. It's basically 1,000 gold, which is minus 2% damage for plus 10% damage, which is always going to be worth it to me. Could have offered curse there. I'm still on no curses, but I mean, however long I can maintain curse-free status is as long as possible, or as long as I want. And I do want to spend, or be spending curses on these upgrades because it's about 70 for, I believe, this upgrade now. 70 curse that is, versus around 3,000 gold. I should be dealing with this healer first. That would be the smart play, but I am not because I hate the Jaguars. Just kind of standing in there, which is, I guess, fine for it. manage to get the kill off there, and then just move on to killing these ends. Don't believe I can hit this enemy with spikes, but if I can, that would be nice. I can actually, so I get that benefit there. And managed to finish one of them off, so I have just less to deal with on screen. That was a pretty bad dodge there that I should have gotten punished for, but I didn't, thankfully. Which was, I dodged a bit too early, which ended up having her redirect her pathing to me for her orbs, and thankfully didn't get any demerit from it, but it's just a thing to consider. I'm going to hit her back into the spikes. It doesn't give me the benefit of healing, but it makes the fight much quicker. Having 2 blood priests here to heal enemies means that I'm going to want to just deal with the weaker one first, just so they can stop generating as many enemies. And just do that pretty quick, and I take a hit from my bad stamina management. Stamina management is one of those things that you really do need to consider in this game, just because of the fact of how much it matters. No matter what you're doing, you're going to want to have stamina, whether it's to be doing finisher combos or otherwise. Having stamina is just very, very powerful. Unfortunately, I thought I'd gotten off the spikes, so I could have gotten a double tick on there, but not. I messed that enemy down. I'm going to try to kill the non-summoned enemy just normally, so I get the health back for it, and then move forward. Because this should have been the 3rd phase, and the last for this room. There we go. I'm going to offer blood for this weapon upgrade. It gives me a pretty sizable damage increase, which is what I'm going to want here. And yeah. Also will give me my first curse coming up here. I've gotten rid of my first curse repeatedly, but yeah, it likes to come back. Really don't like Cadaverous Infestation. Cadaverous Infestation presents just an additional hazard to have, which is the random bats that will spawn from it, and I just don't like dealing with them. I believe you get out of this room faster if you go to the top, so I'm going to go to the left. Additional rewards for a bit extra room cleared, basically. Stand right here. Unfortunately, I do still get caught on fire, so I'm just going to kind of dodge repeatedly. I do take hits here, though. Really wish this fire would stop. Yeah. As possible, I'm just going to keep these enemies trapped here so I'm able to hit both of them with the shield and just kind of move on from there. Now that I've killed one of them, it doesn't matter where I kill the next, and we're done. Yeah, so those bats there are what Cadaverous Infestation does. It just creates minor additional enemies that are kind of just obnoxious. They run away when there's fire, which is nice, but if I ever get something that puts out fires, or puts out my torch, I should say, it'll just be a bit of a nuisance that I have to worry about. I need to remember to make sure that the room actually gets lit up because I have bonus damage in the light. I didn't actually see the Deadwife there charging up her attack, which is why I didn't dodge it, and I unfortunately took a hit. Should be able to very cleanly clear up these last couple of enemies and move forward from there. I was going to check something, but it slipped my mind. C'est la vie. So yeah, the gold rooms are actually fairly nice. You would assume that you would get nothing from the gold rooms besides gold, but they have these gold chests in them, which also give minor items. Obviously, you don't get as much choice in the matter, but it's still a nice thing to have. Gonna want to try and avoid those barrels as much as possible because they're gonna get set off by the other effects. As you see there, I just get a massive, massive chain explosion, which would have been unfortunate if I had gotten caught in it. By the Cadaver's infestation there, which I did not expect. It's unfortunate. It's literally just bad damage to have taken. And I also mistimed my dodge there, which ended up with me getting hit by the, what is their name? Headless Guardians? No, Deadeyes, sorry. I'm going to actually use my main weapon here a bit to try and speed up the kills. As you see there, the Cadaver's infestation was about to hit me, but because of the fact that I pulled out my torch, it decided to run away instead. It's very interesting dealing with two Blood Priests at once, because you have to very much make sure to deal with at least one of them, and I'm going to have that one be the weaker one, obviously. Just as it's easier to deal with by nature of it not being an elite. This one is unfortunately just going to keep spawning ads until I deal with it. So as much as possible, like I mentioned throughout this run, I'm going to be chaining my hits against as many of them as possible. It's just additional damage for the same amount of stamina cost. The Cadaver's infestations themselves have quite the large range that they actually hit by, so it's something to be concerned about whenever possible. As you saw there, that bat that's stuck back there tried to attack me, which I did not notice. And yeah, 4,000 gold versus 70 curse, it's been a very good idea to have kept my curse off in favor of these options. Do I want to hit another curse before the end of it? I won't if I ignore them, but I will if I do spend it. So is 8% damage worth this upgrade? Yes it is, but I could just offer blood and risk getting a curse that could harm me very badly, or one that could not. I think I am going to offer blood, just because there's a lot of curses that won't have that big of an effect. Obviously, if I get one that, for example, removes a relic slot, that's going to be very unfortunate. If I get the hallucination one, it's going to be fairly unfortunate, though. I did beat this boss for the first time under hallucination effect. Bloodlust. This is actually kind of fine by me. It just furthers the amount of healing I get, and I want healing right now. And excess healing will give me gold. So yeah, Bloodlust basically just makes enemies no longer drop gold, and instead they drop health. Did not know there was a spike trap there. I should probably get better awareness of where all the spike traps in this room are. But unfortunately I did not. Bloodlust is basically just going to replace gold in all front lines, so my Reptilian Greed, which is one of my blessings, will also benefit this curse. And by benefit, I do truly mean benefit, as it is a solid help to have. Getting so many waves with Blood Priest is a bit unfortunate to me, because they're just obnoxious to deal with, but unfortunately, I could not dodge. I was making some attempt to, but the Deadeye still hit me. One unfortunate thing about builds that rely on having things lit, for example, this one doesn't entirely rely on it, but I do get a damage buff when there's light in the area, is a majority of elites will just outright put out the lights whenever they attack. That was just a bad hit that I made while getting distracted from talking. Which, once again, that's a skill in itself, is learning how to commentate effectively in the midst of these runs, and something I'll need to do eventually. I'll need to perfect over time, I should say. The Cadaverous Infestation is actually getting quite obnoxious. As you've seen, I've taken 4 or 5 hits since I've gotten the curse. It's one of those curses that won't actually matter for the boss fight because I'm not going to be killing enemies. It's just a nuisance now. It will be a nuisance in the next couple of rooms. Because I thought dealing with the Cadaverous Infestation was a better option there, just trying to avoid the risk of getting an attack, and then I ended up getting hit, which is the exact opposite of what I wanted. This will be one of my last weapon upgrade chances, so I am going to use my last Divine Favor just to see if there's anything interesting. This weapon is a pretty solid option. It brings me down 2% damage overall, but this base damage is much higher than my current, so I'm going to take it. I was hoping this would be a healing room, just so that I could for sure have max health going into this boss, but it appears not to be, which is a bit unfortunate. I'm gonna just slide around these fire statues, or the Jaguar statues as much as possible. They do have a range limitation on them, so you can avoid them pretty well by just staying outside that range limitation. Focusing on getting back some amount of health here, so I am going to try and best deal with the random adds around me. For example, the Cadaverous I am going to go out of my way to kill before engaging with the Blood Priest, I believe is what they're called. Didn't actually manage to finish charging up my shield hit there, though thankfully I had enough time to dodge back. Summon dead, I am going to just focus down the Blood Priest. Blood Prophet? Blood Priest, cool. I had it right. Just gonna hold out my torch whenever possible to ward off the Cadaverous Infestation. Bonus damage for maces would be nice, because my main weapon, or my quote-unquote main weapon is a mace, but I am mainly using my shield instead, so it wouldn't be that big of a help. That was a very big risk there. I did not mean to once again not finish charging, but it ended up happening. Thankfully, I still got the kill off with that one hit, but if I hadn't, it would have been just more damage I would take. As you can see here, Bloodlust is picking up the amount of healing I'm doing. 15% damage to lightning attacks, very, very tempting. I don't think I'm going to overheal very much at this point, and gold isn't too terribly important, so this base 15% damage is very nice. I do lose 8% damage from the amount of dexterity that I lose, but perception should increase the amount of healing I get from Bloodlust. That's just increased critical damage, which is a very, very solid option, but I'm going to take the healing over it, or sorry, the gold over it. There should be another set of adds over here, which I am going to kill. I'll engage them from below because that's just a decent way to see all of them first. I am going to set that off beforehand, because for whatever reason they don't actually get engaged by that. They do get engaged by one of them getting blown up, which I mean is fair. I am going to aim to kill the Deadeye first, just because it's much easier to kill, and I can then just focus on dealing with the Jaguar. As you see, I have 124 health healed. I will start overhealing with gold, but I'm in the final room. It's not going to matter all that much. And yeah, here is Talmok. Let's see how it will go. This is going to be my first time relying mainly on a shield for it, but I'll show off the build. Torch, Spark Hammer. My main focus here is the shield. Primal Hammer, very much healing focused, a bit of lightning damage and a bit of base damage bonuses. This is going to be rough because this healing will not take into effect because this only heals off of kills. Let's go. I do manage to get a parry there. One of the biggest helps that I've had for this boss is someone telling me to just parry the second hit there, and you can also... I was looking the wrong way for that parry. You can also use a ranged attack to break his fireballs, which is something I did not know. I should not be going for these chances at parries at the cost of my health by doing risky moves. Messed up that parry time a bit. I'm going to try and get in the lightning damage where possible. Bring him down at the end of his first phase. I'm going to back up enough so that I can get some distance and regen my stamina. I got a bit of a lucky move there by going underneath that attack, giving me a free set of hits. Unfortunately, that area is lighting up, so it wasn't worth taking the damage from the fire to get in the bonus damage on the boss. Thankfully, I managed to dodge that attack there. It's a very high damage attack if you get hit by it. That was just an unfortunate thing to have happen. Dodge back there. Risk. Yep, as you see there, I barely didn't get out of it, and it just dealt basically all of my health. That's basically caused me any chance that this run had, but I will keep trying. He should do his phase transition here. Yep. I can get in a slight bit more hits. Unfortunately, this build relied on healing, which I didn't get any other support for besides just my shield. Thankfully, the boss was fairly kind while it was in the fire phase. It wasn't too bad to deal with. Getting out of that attack as early as possible. And I managed to avoid the second hit there. That is a 3-hit combo there that pops up in the second phase, and you just want to make sure you dodge all the parts of it. For sure avoiding that. Really dislike it. How much damage that explosion will do. And then I'm just going to move in and get some more damage here. Yeah, I've brought him down to the last of his health. I had thought I had dodged there, but I didn't manage to, so unfortunately this run's going to end in a loss. But as you see, I took literally all of my damage from this Jaguar aspect right at the end. Health restored to 3,600, well, basically 3,700 is nice, and 20,000 gold collected is powerful. Unfortunate way for that run to end because of how well it was going, but there's not much I can do when I mess up. Well, I shouldn't say there's not much I can do. I messed up my dodges in that final fight, which cost me it. This is very tempting of a build, just because I get bonus damage because I have a shield. And the shield is one of the shields that I like. 20% against uninjured doesn't really matter for that style of weapon, but it's a decent option. This would be fun. I really like Sacrificial Machina, and so just having access to that immediately would be nice. I think I'm going to go with this, just because I want to see it used, and I'm going to go for another hard exploration. Unfortunate that I couldn't kill the Jaguar aspect on my first hard exploration. That would have been just a nice thing to have done. I could have moved on to the later difficulties as well, but I'll make one more attempt at this. I may have to end up rushing through it a bit because of how late it's getting, but we'll see how it goes. This room basically dealt with itself, with all of the enemies just kind of getting hit by the fireballs. These claws are very interesting because of how quickly they scale based off of your constitution, and if you build for constitution, it's just a nice thing to have. Unfortunately, I alerted them. I didn't think I would with that. Pretty clear of the first room. 5% of gold offerings cost. May as well take it for now. There's no deep merit to it. And 200, 200, 600. Oh yeah, that's from the reduction for this. Both of these are nice, so I am gonna just end up having to offer gold for or blood for this. I don't like offering blood for the first thing, especially because the blood offerings don't go up in cost for stats ever, so it's just kind of a waste. Yeah, this room is once the end. I could go across this bridge and get one room before the end, or I could go clear through the rest of it and get additional items. And I think I know what I'm going to do, which is kill more. More gold will just in general help me throughout the run, especially since I've had more of a gold deficit at the start of runs now that I'm not running the 1000 gold blessing to start with. That Thunderhammer is just a nice thing. I could wait for that Jaguar statue to break this, but I'm just going to break it myself. It'll allow me to break those doors down whenever I need to, which is just going to help make it so I don't have to worry as much while I'm clearing rooms. As you can see here, these claws are already scaling very, very well, letting me one combo the Deadwise. As you see, they're getting 105 gold for every kill that I make. Is just going to give me pretty large profits as long as I maintain it. This would obviously be a decent idea to build off of. I am tempted with this, but I think I'm going to roll over it, see if I can get better. This is just outright good, and I think I'm going to offer blood for it. Doing a lot of curse offerings early on, but Onyx Shards will be useful throughout the run, no matter what I'm using, because almost every weapon has a chance to crit. Basically, either getting a weapon upgrade here and 2 weapon choices, or a bunch of gold rooms and then weapon upgrades, and I think I'm actually going to go for the gold rooms. It's tempting to... It was very tempting to go for weapon rooms, but I am going to go for the gold just so that I can have enough for a weapon upgrade without spending curse, and so I have a chance at the question marks rooms giving me something useful. Shadow Flame doesn't matter to me. Braziers now burn with Dark Flame. Well, some braziers do. It's just an effect in the background that I don't really have to worry about all that much. As you see here, that crit damage is already coming out strong. 96 damage on the first hit. This deals 20% additional against uninjured, and the first hit from the charged attack with glaive. What are these? Claws? Yeah, claws. Will always crit. So it's just a bit of a mini synergy within it. It's not going to happen all that much. It's not too terribly useful, but the 20% bonus will just consistently be good. Now where this build can go, if I stick with this, I'm just going to want to be building Constitution as much as possible to scale my damage. I'm just going to give that up for gold. I'm going to want to be getting, obviously, Dexterity as well, but crits, damage in darkness, and so forth are just going to be pretty decent options. Unfortunately got my first hit on it when I didn't want to, which means that I won't auto-crit here for my maximum damage. I still do auto-crit, but it's not all that useful. I'm going to take that just to have in the background. Once I get a replacement, it'll be pretty easy to swap out anyways, and I get no benefit from just taking 4% HP now. He's going to set off the barrels himself, take a bit of damage, and let me go. Kind of damn on it. Cool. Pretty easy clear of the room, and I'm able to move forward. No more enemies. Yeah, that's just kind of a gold room. Lots of gold drops. Nothing else much useful, but it's good practice. Sorry about that. I was grabbing water. this room is a bit of a nightmare. You're going to want to dodge this way and this way and this way and this way, and just kind of dodge everywhere. I'm going to willingly take a couple of hits of damage here just for the extra gold. I only took 20 damage, so it's not all that important. I do manage to keep the one greed that I had. That's just kind of how this run's going to be going, is I'm going to aim to keep up the greed as much as I can, keep up the gold generation, and so forth. I can get some of the options for more damage based on how much gold I have. I can get options for just upgrading this weapon by spending gold and so forth. Gold is going to be the main focus here. Thankfully, I managed to time my kill there enough with the basic lurker, I believe they're called, so that the Blood Priest attempted to heal it and then immediately couldn't, so it wasted a bit of time before it decided to summon. See here, when I pass through this door, I'm going to heal back to full, thanks to the relic I have. Those relics have been nerfed very heavily over time. They used to give a lot more even on the lower levels, and one of my earliest builds that I had run was just a bunch of those, and I healed very absurd amounts just every time I went through a door, so it was fine that I took bad damage because I didn't know how to deal with some enemy patterns, because I just healed 500, I think, health every time I went through a door by the end of the run. It was a very interesting build. It ended up losing to Thalamok because I wasn't used to fighting Thalamok, but all the same, it was similar to how it ended with my last run, I should say, which is my build just didn't fit with what I was doing. I couldn't go through a door during the middle of the last boss fight, or get a kill during the middle of the last boss fight. 30% damage against elites and champions is perfect. It's going to make it so I'm much more capable of dealing with all the bosses, and that weapon is now viable to keep throughout the run. It was a decent idea to keep throughout the run, but if I had gotten something moderately better, I could have swapped it out for it. Don't know why I thought I was out of that room when I just didn't dodge at the end there. I managed to get an auto parry there thanks to the shield, which weakens them and lets me just kind of murder it. A little bit close there, with the dead wife setting off the barrel there. The barrel will explode much faster than normal, which will usually end up clipping you and giving you a bad hit there. I'm gonna get a bit of extra gold here by just going into these rooms, and then move on. That is one of the main things that these run, even if I don't end up getting the weapon drops from the bosses, I will be collecting skulls, which I need to basically do later builds. I probably could have outdamaged the dead wife there before she ended up attacking, but I didn't think it was worth it to risk that and the chance of a hit. And I get no real demerit from just backing off. At that point I had done enough damage that it was fine, and I was 100% certain that I could get it off if I just hit. As you see there, I am actually able to instantly kill lurkers, which is very, very powerful. It's a good sign for this build to come, and I see I don't get any constitution here, but I can just offer gold for damage and gold find, all of which is good. Constitution skill is much better than Dex right now, because each point of Dex is only 2% damage versus the 3% I get for every point of Constitution, but that should be fine. Deadly Obsession, I'm not too sure on this. This one. I am going to want to get rid of that. My other curse is moderately obnoxious, just or I should say, it's moderately obnoxious more than anything else. It doesn't hurt me. This does hurt me because it gives me much less stamina to work with. I get more stamina off of kills, but on the boss fights I'm not going to be getting many kills besides this first one. I always start this boss fight by backing up a bit so that I can address the 2 Jaguars in the air as much as I can. You see I managed to get it, and I'm going to get some damage in, and then deal with the boss's attack patterns. I wanted to dodge there, but my spacebar kind of beat the input. But yeah, as you were seeing there, it may have eaten my input, it may have just been that I didn't have enough stamina, or I thought I didn't have enough stamina and didn't press it as fast as I thought. Managed to get an auto parry there, which will let me finish off this fight pretty straightforwardly. And I did fulfill the condition, have a chance of getting a drop, so we'll see if I manage to get it. Try to get rid of Deadly Obsession as quick as possible. I'm not seeing it on the ground, which is unfortunate, but it's only a 20% chance, not a very high chance. Yeah, this is very tempting. I do just enjoy having a large amount more of stamina. This is also tempting because it scales, but I do want to keep the shield for more damage on my claws. I think I want to focus in on the claws as my build. The reason why I keep looking at it is because it just helps out, gives me some healing, and it gives me constitution, but the permanent constitution would probably be better because I can get different relics instead. I'm going to take this, and I am going to take this, but yeah. I'm now going to be healing 12% every time I go through a door, which is very nice. This pattern seems to be best. It takes me through a lot of decent options, or I could go up this way and possibly scale pretty massively. That's what I think I'm going to do. 3 stat rooms means I'm going to have to spend either a lot of curse or a lot of gold. But if I manage to get a dexterity and a health one, that's going to be 25% damage bonus onto my claws, 15% from the constitution, and 10% from the dexterity. Get rid of them as quick as possible. That's one of the big things with this game is, depending on your build, you're going to want to either focus on controlling the area you're fighting in, or learning how to fight quickly with what you've got. And my build right now is the latter. I'm going to want to try and, well, I should say it's more of a mix, but it focuses on the latter, which is killing the enemies quick enough that I don't have to worry about them. Like, I wouldn't have to deal with all this dodging if I just dealt more damage. I would have gotten hit by the spike there if I wasn't paying as much attention as I was. I managed to get an auto parry there. I'm not too sure if those auto parries can occur irregardless of if you would have gotten hit or not, but it's something to think on later. I'm gonna offer gold for this because it's just pretty cheap to do as of now, and move on. I should heal the max to this door as far as I know, and yeah, I'm going to go for the attribute room. Yep, I do. 174 HP per room. Very nice. Very solid benefit there. Able to pretty quickly wipe out those 2 enemies, which is nice, and then I'm going to go work on the Blood Priest. You'll see me not making very much use of the shield during this run, and I mean, I don't feel a really big need to do so, as I guess how I would say it. I am just going to take this because I don't need healing from gold offerings, and the additional constitution is a nice benefit. The corruption removal could be okay, could not be okay. As in, it could give me some amount of benefit, or I could just already be fully dealt with curse already and it not do much. Take the free chest here and the free extra gold. Doesn't end up mattering, so I'm just going to take gold. I could get a temporary 3 constitution, but if I swap that out quickly, it'll have been basically a waste. Wonder how quickly I can kill these enemies. Okay, I'm able to one combo the elite lurkers. That's very important to know. It drastically widens the options of what I can do. Being able to instantly kill them will help with both Blood Priests and most rooms in general. Lurkers are one of the most common enemies for this temple, and because they're the most common, they also have a pretty high chance of being elite, so if I'm able to just quickly focus them down, I'm entirely fine with that. 1500 gold here for 40 corruption. I'm going to spend gold here just to, if I'm planning to get all the rest of the attributes, then I'll be spending corruption on them as well, and it'll just be more gold. I can either increase the next gold cost and spend gold here, or increase the next gold cost and spend corruption here. and one of them is much simpler than the other, because I don't think I would have made up the difference in cost, though seeing as I'm in a challenge room, I will most likely make up a lot of the cost. I got kind of stuck amidst the enemies there, which is going to make me have to go a bit slower on this room than I'd like. But as you can see, my capabilities here of this room are very, very solid. And I'm just going to go to burst through. 1350 gold, solid amount. It's going to be boosted by my perception a bit more. And so I should be able to afford one of the coming attributes or weapon upgrades. I think I should save for the weapon upgrade. 40 and 40 versus 70. That's a bit of a tough call. If I can manage to afford both of the attributes, then I should just do that, if possible. This room will clear itself if you let it be, but if you are too slow and mess up towards the end, you're going to end up in a lot of trouble, because that fire will very quickly kill you, irregardless if you're dodging or not. It will hit you while you are dodging. And it's one of those things which I was going to grab a quick drink of water at the start of this room, but when I noticed the fact of what room it was, I had to immediately resign myself to clearing it before doing anything else. Now that I'm over here, I could stop, but why stop if I'm already basically done? Because I know the fact that I will one combo those if I fully hit them, I went for it, but because it was attacking it right at the same time, it did not take all of the hits there. I do manage to hit both of them at once and get through with it. I will be able to afford both of them if I just buy them, so I will just end up buying them rather than taking the extra bit of curse. As you can see, my stat totals are fairly high right now compared to what they otherwise would be, and so I'll keep on with that. I believe I would have fully dodged that, so that does show that if you're dodging when it happens, you will get the benefit still. I think this is where I swap out that, just for the bonus 12% damage. Healing is somewhat important, but I am currently full health. I will almost certainly lose a decent bit of health in the coming fight, because I'm going to try and parry both of the bosses a couple of times. But I should be able to make it up over the course of the run. Fortunately, no healing in this area, so it's going to be risky to do so, but even if I don't make it to the final boss, my goal here is to try and unlock them, because as I showed at the start of the stream, and I'll show again after this run, they pop up for something you can buy for the Jade Rings, and that means you can start with the gun, or the items, and they can pop up in the shop pool. Yeah, I was going to dodge there, and I would have completed the dodge, but it still auto-parries, which is a very powerful aspect of it that I did not realize. Slowly working my way towards Twitch affiliate, and when I get to that point, I am going to try and provide some decent option for channel points. More so, I'm going to make one of them hydrate, because my friends, for some reason, like spamming that in their own chats, and whenever I'm there, I will spam that to them, just to force them to drink water. Torch of Sorrow literally helps me more than it hurts me. I still reveal things with my torch. I literally just lose the fact that it no longer lights the area brighter, and I'm already in darkness for a fair bit of the time because of Shadow Flame, so this basically just gives me less damage in darkness, so a damage reduction. This is the weapon upgrade, and I'll be getting an upgrade on this. When the room ends, of course. As you can see, the first hit against enemies is now over 200 damage, which is incredible for this early into a run. How quickly can I kill Blood Priests? I can indeed one combo them pretty effectively. Multi-kills are indeed possible, and it's just a good time all around. I am now at the point where I can one-shot the Dead Wives, which is, I think, more important here. because they present a fair bit of threat. Just the fact that they're ranged, and I may not notice them if they're slightly off screen. Got an auto parry there, which helped out for sure, but this claw set is just very, very quickly clearing through the entire game. Actually able to offer gold for this as well, which surprises me. It's thanks to the challenge room, but I'm very glad for it. The less curse I have to gain, the better. Though, in hindsight, I just remembered I have this thing that removes all curse, so I should have taken it. Huh. Well, it's a waste of gold, but that's what I get for not paying attention to my relics as comfortably as I should have. So I am going to use this first phase, getting a bit of damage here, and then start parrying. I managed to get 2 parries off. Unfortunately, I get hit there. It didn't auto parry towards the end, I believe. I'm just gonna push it through, get 1 more parry in the sun phase, then move on. Actually, just in case, I'll get 1 more parry, just to be sure. There we go. Push damage a bit, and then get a couple more parries in the dark phase. That is for sure enough parries, so I'm just going to finish off the fight. Now there's a chance for the drop to come. It's 20%, not very high, but I'm just hoping. I think I might have just seen it. Let me get rid of Shadow Flame. Yep, there it is. Moonblade Knight Sword. I'm going... If I don't pick it up, I can outright remove a curse, but I need to pick it up to register it in my inventory. So I'm going to end up having to pick it up, but I'm fine without removing a curse. So I'm going to take it, drop it, take it again just in case, and drop it 1 last time. Right? Yep, yep. 5% of critical damage also heals you. This is key. I'm going to immediately give up this because it's going, or this 9% per door, because this is going to heal me more. I could also give up this dexterity, which is actually a better shout now that I'm looking at it, but I'm probably going to end up swapping other things. Unnecessary. Perfect dodges restore more is okay, but gold is also better. Lightning whip. I'm not gonna give up my shield, which is giving me auto parries as well as bonus damage on my claws. Sorry about that. I am making a bit of noise from hiccups, but that is my bad. Plus, an additional 3 Constitution is also very top. Another one of these. Okay, yeah. This is, I'm gonna immediately swap out for the gold offering reduction. Actually, no, I think I have to swap it out for the healing per door. The healing per door doesn't matter, but the gold offering should give me some benefit still during the run. Yep, gold offerings, the 2 healings, the critical damage, extra stamina, and remove all. Just remembered that. I'm not going to be removing a curse, so I'm just going to drop that. This will return me 4 Constitution, basically. So I'm up to 22 Constitution, 36 Dexterity, and 19 Perception. Where do I want to go? That's a good question. This one unfortunately cannot get me both weapon upgrades. It will give me the option of 1 or 2 stat upgrades. This gets me 1 stat upgrade, 1 relic in that. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go for this. Just because I want the relic and the upgrade, as well as stats when possible. This run is working out much better than I thought, seeing as I've now gotten both the rare drops from the bosses, or the special boss drops, I should say. My damage right now is currently pretty incredible, 19 plus 30. The higher I make its base damage through weapon upgrades, the higher it's going to scale as well. It also just scales to Constitution. I was holding the torch there, which I did not realize. Did a lot of excess dodges there just to be entirely sure that I got away from the enemies and into a safe place. Got an auto parry there. I don't believe I needed it, but it still feels nice to get. You do definitely feel when you parry out of a dodge, or just parry in general, because it feels a bit of a jolt on your or at least for me, my mouse, it seems. But especially when you parry out of a dodge, it feels that you get a bit of a weird turnaround effect that you also see on screen at the time. Unfortunately, nicked the edge of that, but now we can see a bit more of how much damage I actually deal on crits. I should be healing 10% of the critical damage, which the first hit before was about 220, and it's most likely to have scaled more than that since. So we will see. I'm entirely fine with this curse the more I look at it, because you can't light these on fire, you can't light traps on fire to activate them, but you gain a massive benefit in not taking bonus damage from being in darkness. Like, it's outright massive how powerful that is. What's this relic? Base damage for whips is unneeded, so I'm just going to heal up. No more enemies, so I'm just going to move forward. Going to be a couple of gold rooms. This should mean that I don't have to take much more curse, so I should only end up with one, maybe two more curses over the course of it, because there's only a weapon upgrade and a relic I'll be grabbing. Smart person would do this and break all of these, which I'm actually going to do for once. You have to be very careful that your swing doesn't hit these, because that defeats the purpose. You need to be setting off the trap yourself. And there we go. Successfully disarmed that room, so I don't have any form of risk and can just willy-nilly collect the gold. I don't believe it's Auric Malediction, but Blinding Greed, which makes gold drops on the ground disappear over time, is one of those sort of effects that would have made that strategy impossible. I'm actually going to see if I can do it here. Yes, I can. Cool. Yeah, and that's another thing with two-handed weapons, is the ones that can break walls are especially powerful for that fact. You're able to control the environment and limit some of the nuisances that are present. I'm going to want to, as much as possible, make use of the charge attack with this, because it auto-crits. And the more times I use that, the more health I'll regain. Unfortunately, those healing effects only work, as you saw, off of how much enemy or damage it takes away from the enemy's health. So if they die before, I'll get a percentage of the amount they took before they died. Which is the reason why that synergy doesn't work against the bats that you get from Cadaver's Infestation. Because those bats have, I believe, just 1 HP, which gets instantly depleted by any one hit. And 10% of 1 HP is less than 1, so it gets rounded down. Take my gold chest, see what I get. A whole lot of gold and some corruption reduction. Corruption reduction makes me hopeful that I may be able to get something special in this room, and then make use of later. This is an arena fight, which means it's for sure some kind of shop. Maybe it's a weapon shop, maybe a weapon upgrade, I'm not too sure, but either way. You're seeing here the incredible amount of HP I restore, and this build compared to the previous will be effective against Tahamok because of the fact that I gain HP off of crits, which I can do no matter the situation. I don't have to rely on getting actual kills on enemies, just crits. Got an auto parry while trying to dodge, and you saw there it brought me out of my dodge, which is a bit of that jolting effect that I was mentioning. Gonna go for the Jaguar. Jaguar is my highest threat here. I just hate them. Oh, that's just a very bad chain of events that happened there. This enemy decided to shoot the barrel, and it exploded next to the Titan Eye. What are they called? Headless Guardian. And I thought that would have stunned him, but it didn't, and instead launched him into me, which then let him hit me. And then that activated a barrel, which then let another hit go onto me. I'm gonna offer gold for this. Just a pretty easy choice here. This does mean that I'll be getting one last upgrade on this towards the end, which is very, very powerful. I may not be streaming this coming Friday, the 6th of November, because I will be doing things with some of my friends. I should, in general, be able to make it, but it just depends on how late we go doing some of our tabletop games. And while I do very much love this community, some of my friends are going to be moving out soon, out of where we live, and I want to be able to spend time with them as much as I can, while I can. As you see there, I also don't heal based off of summoned enemies, which is why this sort of healing build doesn't get very much benefit against the Serpent boss either, because you'll only be healing off of the Serpent boss itself, but not against the ads it spawns, and the ads it spawns are a majority of the difficulty in the fight. That was a bit of luck there that the dead wife couldn't turn fast enough to deal with me. I mean, I'll always take that. Gonna go eliminate the one of the larger threats there. The one eyes are pretty easy, or the dead eyes, sorry, are pretty easy to deal with compared to just otherwise, because they're just a single attack and they do it very predictably with a very long charge up. And I've already forgotten their name. Headless Guardians. Oh. You're gonna see that a lot with me checking their names, because I want to get them right so that people are, if they do listen to what I say, they are actually getting the correct name for things. And once again, able to fully one combo them, which is a nice benefit. Obviously won't be the same for their elite forms, but I'll take what I can get. I'm able to distribute the damage there and still one combo the elite lurkers, which is good to know. Those 286 damage crits are very powerful. That was a very generous dodge there by the game. I did not expect it to give me the dodge, but I'm glad it did. Yeah, with the Deadeyes, you can do the strategy I just did there, especially with claws. It makes it really easy to get behind enemies. But you do have to be very aware of the fact that sometimes they won't pivot and look at you like they did just then, but sometimes they'll just instantly pivot and turn around and hit you with the charged shot. It's just one of those things that you got to be aware of, that it has a chance of happening just depending on how slightly you change your positioning. I may actually come back and grab that just from the fact it gives me 6 constitution over top of this, which gives me no actual benefit. I wish I could swap the positioning of these so I could remember that this is the one that I'm going to get rid of, if at all possible. Did not expect to get hit. I was trying to wait till the exact moment where the dead wife attacked so I could dodge that, and I ended up getting hit in the back and almost getting hit by the dead wife. Thankfully I did not. Do I have to go? I do have to go through a closed door room, so my gold amounts versus my corruption amounts. I'm going to be getting a second curse regardless, so I'm going to give up this for that, and this will just kind of help in general with the 6 constitution. Further scaling my claws and further helping me out. That was this. I'm just going to take a breather here. That was a very, very dumb decision on my part to enter that area without stamina and then react by not moving forward. I have a lot of divine favors here, so I'm going to push hard for something that I want. 33% to all healing effects is very, very tempting, but it is not good enough. Not getting the final curse, unfortunately, for the fact that this shown up, but I'm also glad to not be on final curse. This is a tempting one. I do have 2 more rerolls after it, but 12, that's 36% damage, as well as a massive boost in health. I think I'm gonna have to pass over it in hopes I get something slightly better. not happy with what I got. I should have stuck with what I had before, but it's honestly kind of fine what I did end up getting. Get 18% damage from this, depending on how I spend my corruption. Versus gold, it can change. Versus this, which is giving me 12% damage. I really do need the healing now, though. I think I'm gonna have to pass on this shrine, which is a very bad thing. I should have for sure taken that 12 constitution when I saw it just outright. Unfortunately, I made the misplay of not and believing I would get something better, but it was a risk, a calculated risk, but it wasn't calculated well. Dancing Flame, as far as I remember, yeah, flamethrower checks. It won't affect the boss fight. That's all I care about, basically. There may be some in this room which would hurt, but it shouldn't end up mattering. And so as much as possible, I'm going to make use of the crit effect. My attacks, you can see the flamethrowers over there trying to activate, and I got a lucky auto parry there on the hit. And that just decided to parry for whatever reason. But whenever possible, I'm going to make use of the crit damage to get extra health. I do end up getting hit there because of my bad positioning, but I'm able to make some benefit still, and it gets murdered by the thing, which the very bright red light made me distracted and not realize I was about to get hit. That range is very generous, by the way. So I'm actually going to do a fairly smart strat here, which is just go in for a crit and then leave, take the free HP, and leave, basically. It's just trying to optimize the ways that I will be able to better beat the boss beforehand. The better chance I have at beating the boss, the nicer it'll be, because then I'll be able to move on to the later versions of the Jaguar Temple. So I didn't end up picking up the relic for bonus damage, so I'm just going to spend gold on this rather than risk getting towards another curse. And yeah, we're going to enter towards the boss room. I'll be entering at full HP, which is very nice. Well, basically full HP. I'll get back to full off of one hit, or one charged hit I should say, but I'll look over the build real quick. Torch. Torch is the best, +1, very nice. Random heavy weapon, a shield for auto parries, and then benefits to this. Warmonger's Claws, bonus damage against uninjured, bonus if secondary is a shield, which is the point of the shield and the auto parries, and then bonus against elite champions. Healing based off of crit damage, so total of 10%. I have 9% when I go through doors, but this is more for constitution. Some bonus crit, additional stamina, less corruption damage and more constitution, and my two do not have very much importance, my two curses. This one is nice because I no longer take bonus damage in darkness, and yeah, this is Thamok. As you can see there, I do basically an 1/8 of his health with one combo, though it's going to be slightly less from now on, because of the fact that I no longer get that 20% uninjured that helped boost my initial burst of damage there. I forgot I didn't have a range weapon. As you see there, I am healing a very slight bit of HP whenever I do my criticals on him. I'm not going to go for as many parries in this fight as I did last time, just because it's a bit of a risk that I'm not willing to take, and I just kind of want to get the clear that is done. Unfortunately, I messed up my attacking there, and I got lucky on the fact that his parries got, or I didn't get punished for drastically messing up my parries. He's going to change phase and then immediately do an attack pattern, so let him do that. And then just go. I was very lucky. Unfortunately, those fireballs I just went directly into and took a very massive amount of damage. I didn't realize, I only saw one hit there, so I was like, oh, I'm fine. Not quite. Thankfully, the sustain that I've got throughout this should just preserve me. I think I got hit by every fireball at once, which is what caused me to take so much damage. unfortunately keeps pretty perfectly dodging my charged hits, which are my main way of dealing damage. But it should be over soon all the same. There we go. Pretty sloppy fight, but... or I should say a pretty sloppy victory, but a victory nonetheless. And I'll take this. A bunch of crystal skulls, a bunch of jade tokens, and yeah. Jade rings? Not entirely sure. Yeah, that's a complete run. Pretty solid synergy build. Overall pretty decent. Took way more damage than I wanted to on the Avatar of the Jaguar, but it worked. Nearly 3,000 health healed, 21,000 gold collected, 150 crystal skulls is nice. New blood emblem collected. I'm not entirely sure what that will help me get exactly, but I am going to upgrade main weapons so that I have a chance of getting them. This will be a main weapon that I'll eventually be able to get, but I do not have the 50 jade crystals to unlock it, so I'm just going to upgrade main weapons now. It does put me off of getting the blessings that I want, but in my mind it's more worth it to get the... Is that a cursed weapon that I immediately lucked out to get? Yes, yes it is. This is one of my favorite, or I shouldn't say one of my favorite. It's a very powerful cursed weapon because it does an interrupt style effect, like the shield charge attack, and this setup is just insane. I wasn't gonna do another run, but now I am very, very tempted to do so. Just out of the fact that it presents me a good opportunity to make use of these weapons. I could hold off on this run until another day because the Serpent Temple triggers require a flaming kill on the Witch and to kill the second boss while he's weakened. But I could also just do it now. I think I'm just going to do it now. I can technically light the enemy on fire if I parry the Witch at all, because that will trigger the lightning effect there. Oh, I got a notification from Steam, sorry about that. Okay, yeah. I think I am going to go for one last run tonight. I have access to the very hard run here if I really wanted it. I don't really want it, in all fairness. Because I've unlocked both of the weapons, I do really want to get more jade rings, because I want to unlock the cursed weapon for the that I just unlocked, but that will take a lot of time because it's very slow getting jade rings. That is one of the improvements I'd like to see. A lot of people complain that you can't disable items that you've bought with jade rings that you may not actually enjoy using, and it kind of hurts their runs by the fact that they exist. And I don't personally agree. I agree that it definitely hurts people's runs by having them exist, but I think it's important for a game to have both good and what some people consider bad items in the pools, to make runs a bit more than just the same thing over and over again. This does have double damage taken, and this is a very hard run. So compared to the normal Serpent Temple run, this is going to be me taking 4 times the damage. So I have to be very careful, is what I'm saying. That's a very nice start. It means I can build based off of gold, which I'm glad to do. Probably should have gone to the left. I'm still not entirely certain on how the Serpent Temple scales their which pathways result in what. As you see there, the ending of my finisher did a little bit of knockback, but how I meant by scales with what is how the Serpent Temple works for which direction provides more drops. For the Jaguar Temple, some rooms, for example, you can just go up and skip right to the end, and some others you can go to the side and get more. And as I saw back there, there was a jump across there, so that would have been the way to get more drops. I am going to go to the side then, because I just saw that going to the side usually gives more drops. Yeah. My last viewer there has left, which is a bit unfortunate. Let's say la vie. I will continue on my struggles. But yeah, getting affiliate on Twitch is kind of an interesting journey because it's a lot of working, trying to get followers. You need minimum 50 followers, and then you need to have an average of 3 viewers on your stream at all times. Because I'm still a new streamer, I'm not getting all that many viewers, so my average gets cut down by a lot. But I still enjoy it irregardless, whether it takes me a month or maybe much longer to eventually get affiliate, I'm fine either way. I have now confirmed that the little bushes can kill through the thing, which is good to know. Or the vine whips can kill through it. Shields are going to be very useful just by nature of it being a shield, and it gives me a very quick way to deal with one of the more obnoxious enemies in the inside of the Serpent Temple, which is the little shelled lurkers, plague bringers. They spawn the maggots when and then they also take an immune phase, and that immune phase is quite obnoxious in my opinion. So I'm just going to try and be clearing through these rooms as effectively as possible, and just going along my way. That's actually an interesting ability. I have not seen those previously. It would be cool to have a bow, but it's two-handed, and I am going to try and build off of the sword basically with this. I'm going to go with one roll and then kind of move on because I have no real need. I should have looked for something with fire, actually. I wasn't paying well enough attention to see if there was something, but that is the effect you need on the witch when you kill her to get the drop chance for her item. Quickly combo down the prophetesses there, which is quite nice. Priestesses, I believe it's priestesses, 5% of gold offerings. Not the greatest, but it's something to tide me over for now. I'm going to double check on her name because it bothers me. Yeah, prophetesses. And yeah, a lot of this game is just learning what you're good at and how to get better at the things you're not, and I mean, I personally enjoy doing it. I understand why some might not, but it's altogether a very enjoyable game to me, and it offers a pretty high level of replayability. I am going to pick up the Amber Pendant here, even at the cost of missing out on this, which would massively help me control my stamina. Or my corruption. Having access to this would be so nice. Just to have a bit more freedom with mobility. It's gonna take me over the first curse, so I'm gonna get it pretty early on, but it should be fine. Amber Pendant is almost always just going to be a nice upgrade, even if you just use it for mobility, which is, in my opinion, a pretty fair way to go about it. It is very nice because you can roll an extra distance if you want. You have more in the background if you're using two-handed weapons, and so on and so forth. It lets you chain together more combos with shields, for example. There's a lot of beneficial things you can do with it. You just have to be aware of the fact that it's not good to get used to having it, because I guess the way you would describe that, if you become to rely on having that extra stamina in runs, you'll eventually get to runs where you don't have that, and all of a sudden you're going to be out of your element. And that layer of difference can be a key part to whether or not you win or lose a run. If you're too used to one thing and you can't adapt otherwise, it'll hamper you a bit in how well you do. Weapon upgrade, I'm going to be upgrading this almost exclusively. This is going to be massively increasing my curse now that I realize that. So I'm going to have to be saving up either gold for this or just spending corruption on other things instead, so I can avoid spending corruption on that. I'm going to go for another relic to try and improve my build a bit. My damage is nice, the interrupt effect is nice, but it's not going to help all that much. This is very bad. Because of the fact that I'm wanting to rely on gold for purchases rather than corruption, specifically those purchases, and use corruption for others. This is overall just gonna make me hemorrhage money, or gold for the most part. It's a 25% damage reduction, which is incredibly helpful if you just don't have gold, but if you're needing to make use of gold, it's going to cause you to just run out very, very quickly, especially depending on if you take a lot of bad hits. If you don't take bad hits, you're not getting any use out of it anyways, because you're not getting any benefit from the 25% damage reduction. All them little spike traps are active because of this. First curse, it's just one thing I have to kind of pay attention to. I actually don't know if you can break them, so I'm going to try to. You can. That is helpful to know. What exactly? Oh yeah, I got a basic increase in damage as well as some dex since then. I was wondering what's letting me one-shot so many enemies, or more consistently kill them. I should have gone after the prophetess. I should still be able to kill it. I am. Very good. My damage is also currently scaling because of the reptilian greed, reptilian hunger, and so I'm getting a 25% damage buff from that, but I don't expect it to last long because I'm most likely going to get hit by something minor, like the poison fog, for example, which will break my greed counter, I believe. Or like that. That's why you want to target the prophetesses down, because they will buff the enemy and make slight differences to their attack patterns, which end up with you taking hits you wouldn't normally expect to take. Like that previous hit I just took, I should say. Not excusing it, it was a bad hit. I'm gonna have to take that. This is going to give me sustain, which I'm gonna need throughout the run, but as I was saying, the reason it's so dangerous is if you're used to it taking, say, 0.5 seconds for the enemy's attack pattern to go through, if it's suddenly taking 0.25 seconds, you're not going to be prepared for that. And that minor margin, it may not even be that big of a difference as 50%, but even any amount of difference will slightly throw off your kind of feel for the room and your feel for how the enemy should be acting, and that I think is ultimately going to be bad for a lot of runs. I'm not able to instantly combo down the prophetess, so I'm just going to go out of my way to finish it like that. And then just finish it there. There we are. With the reptilian hunger, my greed kills are going to last between enemies, or between parts of rooms and between rooms overall, so I should be getting generally more benefit than otherwise for my extra health off of greed kills. Missed that gold, and I'm going to go back for it. I feel it's worthwhile to grab, I'm going to want to have gold, so I may as well not ignore gold when it's presented to me. There was a mix of there of me trying to hit and me wanting to avoid the hit that I was about to take by dodging, and I managed to work both sides out, and I'm overall pretty good. This room is giving me a decent bit of gold. It is literally gold room for that purpose, but I appreciate it. If you lead off a fight with the shield bash against these enemies, they will sometimes, or I believe they're almost always going to be in their little hibernating state at the beginning of a fight, and so that will break out of their hibernation. I have no pistols, I don't plan to use pistols, so I'm just going to ignore that. Bonus damage on lightning, probably going to help with shield. I'm going to need to light the enemy on fire when I kill her. So I'm going to have to hit her with my shield and then parry her, just throughout the fight. Which is going to be a bit of a nightmare, because, as I've mentioned, I really suck at parrying. But here goes nothing. I didn't expect to get hit in that way, and I ended up taking a lot more damage than I wanted. I expected to be able to break the little mushroom pods she drops, or skulls I think they are actually. Like that, it was within my radius, but it didn't actually get a hit. Like, it didn't break, which is odd. So now I'm just gonna have to worry about actually getting a kill on this. I wonder if I can parry her skulls and get the benefit. Once again there, I swung exclusively with the goal of hitting the mushroom, and I did not get a hit on it, which is making me take a lot of bad damage, and I'm very thrown off by it. This boss in general is just a bit of a nuisance to me. It's, in my mind, the actual hardest boss of the floor. I wasn't quite in range, so I can't quite tell if I can manage. That was a dumb move. You should never try and parry that set. You should just easily dodge it. I'm really getting unhappy with the fact that I got stuck in the animation even though I tried to dodge out of it. I'm sorry, my long viewer. I know you're disappointed in me. I guess I'm just gonna have to try and lower health and then exclusively go for parries for a while. I don't see any lightning effect triggered there. I'll make one more attempt or not. Yeah, it's unfortunate that I wasn't able to actually trigger the lightning effect. If I had known that, I wouldn't have gone for the strategy at all. I wouldn't have taken as much damage, which very much hampered my gold. Just gonna have to be getting things up for gold or health. That would be helpful later on. I'll look at it and keep it for now. This is just good. Extra greed kill time. Kind of unnecessary. I think I will take it over that though. That's unnecessary. Do I want 50% health whenever a curse is lifted? Am I expecting to get a benefit out of that? Probably not. Because of the amount of curse I took from this boss, I'm gonna have to end up taking a second curse immediately, which is not the thing I would want to do. I'm actually gonna give up this lightning damage for this effect, just because it gives me more constitution, and my greed kills heal 1% of HP, so the higher my base HP, the better it's going to be for me. I see a couple of paths here that would work. I think I'm going to end up going this one just so I have enough gold to keep up. But it's going to cause me to have to take the upgrade here for Curse, which is going to very, very much hurt, because I think it's going to put me on third Curse. Bring an enemy has a chance to trigger an Earthquake. This one I've gotten once or twice, and it's almost exclusively helped me, but it's once again something to consider that's going to happen in the arena while you're fighting. I don't appreciate the fact of how many hits I just took, but more than that, the fact that it didn't get stunned by the end of my previous set of attacks. This mushroom effect has actually been more deadly than I expected. But as you see there, the Earthquake can actually be pretty helpful. What I'm going to have to do from now on is maintain my greed status as much as possible to heal any amount of HP I can. I got one of the worst possible elites here to fight right now, which is one that, or specifically the Prophetess. I'm gonna combo her and then just back off. Combo her again. Realize that I cannot effectively combo her twice. I'll never again do that. She's done for. Oh boy, this 4 times damage thing is a bit rough to deal with. A bit rough. Because of how this run is looking, I think I'm just going to upgrade this and go with it. I'm not likely to survive, so may as well get a bit zany with what I'm doing. If I can make it one more room after this, I'll be able to full heal at the cost of, once again, more curse, but it's going to be very rough if I hit final curse. Dark Fervor, unfortunate. Corruption passively increasing rather than getting the base 20. Basically, I'm just going to have to speed clear everything, which doesn't synergize well with me wanting to be careful how I fight. That Earthquake is probably going to be what causes me to lose this run. Taking 200 damage for basically just a bad dodge is going to be killer. I'm going to try and hit it into the vines, didn't manage to actually get it to take damage from it, but it ends up being alright. Another Earthquake happening, I'm going to try and avoid it as best I can. And make sure that I get out of range of any enemy attacks, because any attack right now will kill me. The Earthquake helping spread some damage out amongst the enemies. I'm going to want to be getting rid of this main enemy as quick as possible because the little ones will keep being generated by it. Okay, managed to get through that room. That was a bit of a nightmare, very worrisome. Another cursed weapon. Right now it would be dealing pretty absurd amounts of damage, but I don't think I'm going to want to do that. I'm just going to ignore this weapon shrine in general because I can't afford to take more curse right now. More curse than I'm about to take, I should say, because I'm about to spend a lot on this curse. 10 per, and I'm healing to full. Go to the challenge rooms, they're fairly quick compared to other rooms, so I should get some benefit rather than demerit out of Dark Fervor. I shouldn't have lit that on fire, actually. I'm going to even break it just because I get bonused. I don't remember actually pressing E to activate that, but apparently I did. I don't know what hit me there, but that scared me drastically. I think it may have been one of the effects of the Titan Skull. Cool. I ended up wrapping it much faster than I expected, not in the way I want, but at least it's not. Taking so much damage for any amount of hits I take is unfortunate. I am actually going to spend the time to break this. I don't want it to be there, and I'm also going to break this one even. I don't want them being there, presenting such a chance of any amount of damage right now. Didn't realize they actually had attack patterns besides their normal spear throw. Let's see there. Very good clears on both rooms. I'm going to be having a very large amount of gold to spend. This gives me some actual hope for this coming, for the rest of this run, I should say, because I should be able to afford just a base upgrade on my weapon here, and all I have to do for the coming boss is parry. Parry is what will weaken things, and that should be good. Shadow Ward kind of sucks. Regular enemies are concealed well in the shadows. It basically just makes it obnoxious to not have your light out, and I want to have my light not out. I think I'm going to have to get rid of Dark Fervor, though. You know, I kind of blanked on the fact that this is an actual other room that I'm going to have to do first. For the coming boss. I was like, oh, I'm about to go fight the boss. But not quite. 52 damage from a single tick of the thing is very, very rude. That Earthquake very much tried to kill me, but apparently killed a random enemy there. I thought I could have gotten to the end of my combo there, which is why I tried to commit to it. But I didn't end up doing that. If she had parried there, I would have been able to get a slight bit more damage, but it doesn't end up mattering. The quicker I clear these rooms, the better it is because of Dark Fervor, but yeah, offer gold. Lose a bit of damage, gain a bit of damage. More damage overall is the main benefit because I only have 2% damage for 1,000 gold. I believe it's either a 15 or a 30% damage increase whenever you upgrade the tier of a weapon, which is very solid. Okay, here we go. We're going to try and output as much damage as possible. As you see there, you can just get a free weaken by doing that. I tried to parry the second hit, but failed. That's just blended my health and any logical chance I had. Down to nothing. Yep. Okay. That was a bit of a faster end than I expected for that. I took 1,500 damage in about 30 seconds, but it was a fun idea for a bit. If possible, I would have wanted to get a fire synergy at the start to try and do the different little challenges there, but yeah, that's gonna be how it ends. I'm one crystal skull off. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for the runs tonight. It's fairly late, and I would prefer to get to sleep when possible. Midterms I did today went pretty well, so I'm glad for that. But yeah, thank you very much for anyone who comes out. For the YouTube viewers, thanks very much for being here. I just kind of hope everyone has a good rest of their day, good rest of their night. Whatever it is for you, however you are, I just hope you're doing well. Have a good one.